You are at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus patrons want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for my meaningless name, or name Rant about what other subcultures of entertainment have or lack that makes you not care about them as much as you do anime. For instance, detective novels, or French art house movies, or Star Trek nerds. Is it the tone and themes of the show that makes the community a community you don't care about, or is it the community that has formed around the medium itself that seems less interesting to be a part of? Are you just so invested into the anime community and otaku lifestyle that you are not looking to be a large part of other subcultures? I know you have a video where you talk about anime versus Western television, so I guess I'm asking much broader than that. I don't know. I already wrote basically an essay to ask this question and then went back and edited it several times. I probably spent longer writing it than you will answering it. I personally think that I am invested in the anime community after trying to cast a wide net because of people like you who love to talk about how interconnected everything is, and how X episode of Y Show was guest directed by Z, who later used the inspiration from X to create W and all that, which is a lot of other communities are lacking. The funny thing about it is I don't really participate that much in the anime community. I don't really participate in communities that much in general. I'm not really much of a social guy. Most of my involvement in anime is personal or really just shared with May. Like, when I got into anime in a big way in, 2003, it was because it was something me and my cousin did together, or me and my brother. We watched shows on the weekends together. We talked about them, and then I think because I grew distant from my cousin and, my brother wasn't as into anime as I was, I turned to online communities and started talking to people there. But talking to people on forums and stuff was never very fulfilling for me. I always feel like on forums people are mostly talking past each other because everybody just wants to say their piece but not necessarily react to other people's pieces. So I got into the blogging community because there was a much stronger culture of commentating on people's opinions, because every blog post is just your opinion. And so I would much rather, instead of just being one more guy throwing his 2 cents into a thread that, that nobody's even going to read or pay attention to, it's like, here's my point, and then you can respond to my point. And, a lot more of blogging is about finding people whose points you think are interesting and following them. So, in that case, it's less of a community thing and more like you're communicating with just a very small handful of other bloggers. Like, most of the people who read anime blogs were other bloggers. There were plenty of people who were just frequent commenters or probably just readers. But, again, it's not really a community in the same sense as something like Reddit is, where everybody's being encouraged to offer their 2 cents on whatever's being discussed. And I do think that Reddit has better discussion than, traditional forums usually did. I think it's much better for that. But, I'm not on r/anime since I've been banned for, 6 years now? I don't know how long. Forever. I used to go on 4chan sometimes, but I don't really talk on there. I mostly just lurk and look at pictures. I don't know. I'm not that interested in other people's thoughts on things. I'm interested in the community in terms of people sharing stuff, like people finding cool things and bringing them to the surface, or just working together to bring things to America or get them translated and stuff like that. And I would like to be more involved with that community, but it's time consuming to really get involved in a community, and I work all the time. I basically fill all my free time with work. I pretty much just watch shows, spend time with May, and make videos, So and again, anime is more something I do with her. So yes, I put out these videos, but I don't watch anybody else's videos about anime. I would, but there's just not enough channels that I really care about. And even the ones that I do care about, they don't update that frequently necessarily. It's not like every day I'm watching somebody talk about anime the way that you would expect if you were in a community. I'm not a part of any forums. I'm not really, I'm only really a part of my own community, the community surrounding my content, which in a way is an anime community since I mostly talk about anime and, but I'm the only real reactions I'm reading to shows are like what my commenters think of it, you know, or what my patrons think of it. Not so much going out and collecting impressions from around the internet, just because I don't care that much, and it's not really that fun for me to like engage with it in that way. But I do appreciate all the information, and like so, the kinds of people who I'm interested in following are less like reviewers or people offering their opinions on shows. Some of those I like, but it's very rare. You know, it has to be somebody who I really trust their feelings on shows, and like there's nobody in the YouTube space who I really feel that way about. What I'm much more interested in is just knowledge, and like that's kind of what you've presented here as like what you find interesting about the anime community is what I find it too, is that like I'm interested in the meta. I'm interested in how everything is interconnected. The fact that the anime industry is pretty small, like the what's so impressive about really Japanese work ethic in general is that because the audiences are so small, they just work extra fucking hard to generate like an insane amount of content. I relate to this. This is how I live my life too, is that like my audience isn't super huge and I don't make that much money off of each individual product, but by pumping out so much of it, the hardcore fans of me keep me afloat, you know? And that's basically what you have to do in the anime industry. It's just like work your fucking ass off and appeal to that small crowd of passionate people who connect with you because you yourself are passionate. And you know, like that's why so much anime is about passion. That's why it deals so heavily in like obsessiveness, is that like that is characteristic of the job, and it's also characteristic of my job. So you know, the obsession, the need to collect every bit of data, to know about every show. Like, I will follow people more likely if they talk about lots of stuff I haven't heard of. If it's a channel that, you know, is just showcasing anime I've never seen, or if they're, you know, going deep into the history of it, or breaking down stats pertaining to it. You know, like, one of the things that I like about Super Eye Patch Wolf is, you know, I know there's been a lot of the data he's presented in videos has been contested and stuff, but like, you know, when he did like his Fall of Bleach video, there's a lot of background info about the production and the way that its trajectory has gone, and like the sales figures and stuff. That meta element of it is what makes it interesting to me, you know? And so, yeah, like, even though I do lots of like opinion pieces myself, and I get why people enjoy that, like, I already have my own opinion, so I'm not as interested in, like, unless somebody has a one that's going to convince me of something, like, if somebody's opinion is very different from mine, and it's because they looked at it from an angle I didn't consider, and I find that angle interesting, but again, that's much rarer. So, like, the main kind of stuff that I will be interested in seeing, like, is either information about production, information about the people who make the shows, or just learning about shows I haven't heard of, or history, or occasionally really in-depth think pieces if they are indeed in-depth, and, you know, from somebody who's maybe just better at it than I am. And it's funny because I actually consume a lot more reviews of stuff that's not anime. Like, all those other, you know, categories you mentioned, I am way more likely to watch a film review, or like 10 reviews of the same film, because I'm not going to see the film. So I'm just learning about it through other people whose opinions interest me, and like, I'll watch a YMS video about it, I'll watch Red Letter Media talk about it, I'll watch Ralph the Movie Maker talk about it. Like, you know, I'm interested in collecting the meta of those mediums, but they just don't appeal to me the same way anime does. So, like, I guess to answer your question, it's not the community that I care about, I just like anime. I like anime because of its aesthetics, the way that it can do things that you just can't do with anything else. It's like, it's kind of the most dense combination of elements, of audiovisual elements you can make in media. Like, you can't make anything that has more visuals and more sound being possible at the same time, you know? Like, film is obviously similar, but film is limited by, well, it's really not limited by anything because animation is film, but like live action film is limited by the need to have live action actors in it. And, you know, also just, I think it's, anime is, you know, even though there is a lot of it that is very similar, it is capable of being a lot less constrained stylistically, and I tend to like shows that experiment a little bit. So yeah, basically, long and short of it is, I like anime. I like learning about the back history of anime. I like the community insofar as I feel like a lot of people are like that. The otaku database animal, the idea of that is something I relate to strongly, but I don't see that as a community of people really sharing their thoughts about shows. It's more like people just sharing raw data and like everybody trying to kind of crack the code on, what's going on behind these shows. So, yeah, there you go.